Hi everyone and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide, where we're here in the studio after our absolutely amazing trip out to the USA. We visited 25 different theme parks throughout the month of June and we had a blast, didn't we, Charlotte?
Oh, it was absolutely incredible getting on so many rides, seeing so many new parks and making so many memories.
Oh, that's the thing. Memories that we'll treasure forever, and of course taking you all along in the videos has been fantastic. And in this video we're going to sit here, have a bit of a conversation, just talking all about the trip, the high points, the low points, like the car breakdown, and just in general talk about the trip, and also go into some costs and prices and how you go about planning a huge trip like this as well. I spent weeks upon weeks of doing research, planning the routes, and you know what, I was hoping, is it all going to go to plan, all this planning? But I'd like to think it did, didn't it, really?
I'm just so glad that it paid off, like the location of the hotels and the drive-in, it really did pay off.
Yeah, and we're going to start off by just talking about how you plan to do something like this. Obviously really experienced now when it comes to planning trips all around the world. Lucky enough to have been to so many different countries, seen lots of cultures and lots of theme parks along the way, which really has been fantastic. And that's the thing, I'd start off by kind of, you're planning something like this, working out where you want to go and also how many parks, how many days you've got, and then also trying to plan a realistic itinerary. When I did a similar trip back in 2019, the itinerary, we just packed too much in to a very short period of time, whereas this time spreading it out and also working out the locations of the drives a lot better really paid off for us, didn't it?
You just want to make sure you've got enough time instead of cramming too much in and then you just wear yourself out completely.
Yeah, and the good thing is this trip, as you saw throughout the vlogs, we were pretty good all the way through. There was only one point where we were quite tired, and that was our day at King's Dominion. I'm sure you saw that in the vlog, and of course that's when we had the car hire breakdown. But again, we'll go more into that in just a moment, and the general highlights from the trip, and what we enjoyed the most, parks and ride-wise. But yeah, if you are planning something like this, it really is just about taking the time, looking at where you want to go to, and then thinking, right, how can we minimise our time on the road? You know, like with hotels, we made sure we booked hotels that were literally en route, or maybe like maximum a mile off route, didn't we?
Yeah, because you don't want to be having to do long drives and then driving ages off for a hotel to then come back to the road. You just want it conveniently located next to like the road, or maybe like 1 or 2 miles off.
Yeah, and that's what we did with this trip, and you can see that over on the Sandbrook Adventures, on our other channel, where you've got all the behind the scenes look at the trip. And yeah, we really covered all them different journeys and the hotels. But yeah, that's my best advice. We've had a lot of messages, a lot of people saying, how did you plan something like this? And yeah, you can't just go to the travel agent and say, I want this trip. We said in 25 hotels, it's a big undertaking. But yeah, my best advice to you is do your planning, do your research, and then it'll all come together for you. But we also made sure we did a lot of the driving kind of on a morning and on an evening, instead of just being on an evening. So in 2019, and on trips I've done in the past, I tend to do a lot of the driving on a night after the park closes and do pretty much the full drive. That is the wrong thing to do. You want to be doing about half and half, and maybe even a little bit more on the morning, because at least then you've had your night's sleep, you've had your refresh, and then you can concentrate more on the drive, can't you, really?
I think that's the thing. If you've done like a long park day, you don't want to end up having to do a long drive because you're already tired after doing a full day. At least if you've had a sleep and you do a bit more extra in the morning, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and that worked really well for us. We did that throughout the whole trip, and that was fantastic. Moving on then from the kind of how to plan something like this, in general with the car, I mean, yeah, we had a major issue with the breakdown. The first 3 weeks went really well for the car, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. I was absolutely loving the car.
We've had a lot of people also say to us, how much has it cost in fuel? Well, I've got all them details for you now. So obviously, I converted it over into pounds. £338 across 11 fuel ups. I don't think that's bad at all, Charlotte.
I can't believe that. We was like expecting it to be like £600-700, but to have that much for that long period of time, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is, and that was across 11 fuel ups, like I say, at the gas stations. We were even talking American during the trip. Yeah, there you go. That's how much we spent on the fuel.
That far.
I know, like 4,500 miles in total. Because obviously it was about 4,200 if we were going direct to the parks. But then the little bits we went off, having some food and that sort of thing, it ended up being about 4,500 miles that we did. And still, I know a lot of people talk about the increased fuel cost in America, still nowhere near what we pay over here. Like, I went to fill up again the other day, I was thinking, blimey, it's just cost me 70 quid again.
You realise how expensive fuel is when you do come back home.
Yeah, a full tank of gas in that car was like 25 pounds really. Yeah, not too bad, 25 to 30 pounds, which is fantastic. Yeah, the car was great other than the breakdown. Obviously, we've covered that over on the Sandbrook Adventures. Wasn't ideal. We were shattered for that day at King's Dominion, but at least we managed to get that park in because we nearly had to miss out on that. And that's the thing, you can't always plan for these things. We got up that morning to drive to Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and we had to think quickly, what could we do? And luckily we managed to swap the days round, and then we did Busch Gardens the next day, and it worked out good. It wasn't ideal at the time, but we got over that issue, didn't we?
It was one of them where we was running out of time and thinking, if it gets to this sort of time, we're just going to have to completely skip a day. So at least we did actually get to go to the park, even though we was really tired, and get the rising that we wanted.
Yeah, we were shattered there. You really see how tired you were there on that day. But
it's because we got up early as well that morning to drive to Busch Gardens that we couldn't do. So we was just so tired.
Yeah, we were shattered, but we made the most of it, and that was the main thing. And again, if you're planning to do something like this yourselves, you got to prepare for, these things can happen. I was really, as you can see, quite disappointed that morning thinking, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? But luckily we made the most of it, and we got the 25 parks in, which I was really pleased about. But yeah, in general, the car was great. In terms of hotels, then yeah, all the hotels were fine that we stayed at, I'd say, weren't they really?
Yeah, they didn't have really any issues at all. There was only a few times that we had to move rooms, only because of a few small issues, but nothing major.
No, it was only a couple of times, and yeah, it was pretty good, the hotels. We didn't go for the cheapest option, and we didn't go for like really expensive options. We kept it quite kind of reasonable prices. Most hotels on the trip cost between 60 to 80 pounds. So all the hotels that you saw over on the travel vlogs, yeah, but 60 to 80 pounds, excluding the hotel in New York. So obviously that was more with it being there. But still, yeah, hotels were pretty good. I would recommend all of them that we stayed at, actually. I think the Ramada, that was really good. Super 8 in Pigeon Forge, that was a good one.
That was really good. Like, I wasn't expecting it to be like that. I think the rooms had been refurbished and they was great.
Yeah, we stayed at so many different ones, and you can see that all on the Sandbrook Adventures. And like I say, obviously this is on Theme Park Worldwide, but if you haven't already, head over to the second channel. If you haven't already, you're really missing out on part of this trip.
There's so much on there.
Just the theme parks on this channel, but everything else over there, which it's definitely worth heading over and checking out our kind of behind the scenes bonus content from the trip. Yeah, we spoke a bit about the car, the general hotels, travel. I mean, I did all the driving this trip, and to be honest, even though we did it over a month, really didn't feel like I was driving that much at all.
Well, we got to the end and we was like, it doesn't feel like we've driven as far as we actually had, because it was split out over the days we was there. It wasn't too bad at all. Yeah,
and traffic was pretty light. It was more the first couple of weeks, hardly any traffic. We had a little bit as we went up towards Chicago and Atlanta. They were the busiest areas for us. But in general, traffic hasn't caused too many issues either, which has been fantastic. Then of course we move on to the theme parks themselves. The main part was going out there for the trip. We've seen lots of other things along the way, but the theme parks of course were the core highlights, especially on this channel. 25 different theme parks, 10 new ones for me, but 25 new parks for Charlotte.
It was just so nice to see so much new fresh stuff, waking up every day and seeing different parks, different rides. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you're waking up every morning thinking, oh, we're going somewhere new, that's what really keeps the excitement going. And of course, for me, I had the excitement of going back to these parks. Bear in mind, I was very tired on the 2019 trip. Going back to these parks, but also getting to see Charlotte's reactions to it all were absolutely amazing. I loved Charlotte's reactions to the trip.
It was so good. We had so many memories along the way.
Yeah, we did. So much on and off camera, which was absolutely amazing. And yeah, honestly, what a journey it's been. Yeah, going into the parks in general, we were really lucky when it comes to wait times. Like, that's a big thing this trip. I know a lot of comments have come in saying, you've hardly waited, like, where's the crowds been? And the answer to that one is, I don't really know. I mean, June is generally a really good time to do a trip like that. However, there was hardly any queues. I'd say the busiest day for us of the trip was Hershey Park, wasn't it?
I think that was really busy because it was the opening day of Wildcats Revenge. It was really busy, but the other parks, we just cannot believe how little the queues were. We was like walking on stuff, getting multiple re-rides, which was fantastic for us.
Yeah, and some days, you wouldn't expect it. You think you go in some of these parks, you've got like 14 or 16 coasters, are you going to get them all? And with ease, like, we didn't rush around. We even said at the start of the trip, if there's like a kiddie coaster, we're not going to rush for it, we're just going to take it in our ease. If we get that, we will, but if not, it's not the end of the world. I mean, you weren't too bothered about some of the smaller ones.
No, I just wanted to make sure that I prioritised some of the bigger ones, and if we did get time, we would go back to do them. And at some of the parks, we was able to go back to do them because we'd done everything else. And
multiple re-rides on some of the major stuff as well, which was amazing. But yeah, wait times, we did so well. Didn't need to use any fast tracks or anything like that. Literally waiting in the main queues. It was great, wasn't it?
It was so good, like just unexpected, really.
Something that's very different at the parks in the USA compared to what you may expect in Europe and the UK is the kind of operation of the park. Like different things that can change, like paid lockers, for example. These are little things to be aware of if you're doing a trip. Some of the parks won't let you take any bags or anything like that into some of the coaster stations, like some of the Cedar Fair parks. You will have to buy a locker. Most parks offer a transferable locker. It was around £10, give or take, and that you can move it around the park all day. However, it was Carowinds that had just a one locker at a time, and it was $4. So we spent $16 that day.
And it soon adds up. But the thing is, what we find with the lockers is a lot of the times you could take a bum bag, but you've got to wear it on the rides. It was just really strange.
Yeah, there was some really weird rules. I think that's what they need to look at. But again, it's worth talking about because it's something we're not used to so much over here. Other things, general park operations. So, of course, you kind of family-owned parks like Kirk and Nobles, Holiday World, fantastic operations at those parks. I think that's the thing, the non-chain parks, family-owned. You tend to find that in the UK and in Europe. Generally, the operations tend to be better. In terms of the chain parks, Cedar Fair operations were some of the weakest this trip, especially at Worlds of Fun, as you probably saw in the vlog. That was quite a poor day, wasn't it, there? We had
it
Worlds
was just
of Fun.
one of them where we started and just everything was closed and we kept going to rides and there was like multiple breakdowns. We understand that these things happen, but it's like the communication was just awful.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, it's communication. Rides can go down, safety is always paramount, but yeah, communication is what was really poor, and that day it was really bad at Worlds of Fun. That was the worst operations I think we've seen this trip at Worlds of Fun. But in general, Cedar Fair operations, I've really enjoyed getting back to Cedar Point. Of course, Kings Island had a fantastic day, Carowinds, loads of great Cedar Fair parks. However, I do feel like in general, the Cedar Fair operations haven't been as good this trip as what I've seen previously. I'm not too sure why, but in general, maybe it's because of staffing issues, I'm not sure, but ops weren't as good at Cedar Fair this time for me.
Yeah, we were saying that the operations just could have been better, but Six Flags operations was so good.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because Six Flags gets that reputation for, you know, their slogans, have a Six Flags day. A lot of people are like, oh God, you got Six Flags tomorrow, you have a Six Flags day. We had some really good days. I'm not saying they're perfect. However, in general, some of the operations were great, especially at Six Flags Great America. That park was really well operated. One of the best operated parks of the trip, that was.
They was doing such a good job, like running up and down the platforms, really getting those trains out, and we just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and as you probably saw in the final vlog from Six Flags Great Adventure, operations were really good there as well. Literally running down the platform, something that we didn't really see so much at the Cedar Fair parks. I mean, Cedar Point, in general, the operations, they weren't poor, but they just weren't amazing either. It tends to be a big focus really on just Steel Vengeance operations, and then some of the other rides not being as good. But yeah, it's all really interesting stuff, isn't it? I just wanted to come back home and talk about that. But in general, I'd say operations across the trip were pretty good, other than a couple of days where it was off. But and then some of the parks, they were really going above and beyond.
Really good.
Others, not as much so. In terms of some of our favourite parks, I mean, of course, all 25 park days, we've enjoyed getting to them because it's just seeing new things, it's different stuff. Being based here in the UK, you always had this kind of American dream, you know what I mean, of going out there and seeing all these American parks, some theme parks, some amusement parks, but most importantly, getting on some big boy roller coasters out there.
We really did get on some of the big ones, which was fantastic.
What were some of your favourite parks, Charlotte, from the trip?
I absolutely loved Silver Dollar City. The theming of that park was absolutely brilliant. I loved Knoebels. There was just so much going on there. I really liked Holiday World. I liked Dollywood. Oh, there's just so many that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, they're definitely my favourites too there. And there's a key theme. It's away from the kind of Six Flags and Cedar Fair kind of group, you know, of parks, which are, again, they are fantastic. Got some great rides. However, we do like the more family-owned and themed experience. Busch Gardens Williamsburg.
That was really good.
That was amazing, and a great kind of, you know, near the end of the trip after a really poor kind of stressful day for us the day before with the car issues, to then go to Busch Gardens the next day and have a blast was amazing.
It was just nice and relaxing, which was brilliant.
Yeah, it was. But no, I think for me, my favourite park of the trip was definitely Silver Dollar City. It's a gorgeous park. If you like the theming and immersive experiences, then that is definitely a park that I would recommend. However, I'd recommend going to all of them because they've all got some great coasters and great experiences on offer. However, in terms of the overall theming package, Silver Dollar City, Dollywood, Busch Gardens,
Amazing.
Williamsburg, take it to the top. Knoebels and Holiday World are just really nice parks that are just family owned, family operated, and we've had some great times there. And of course, we got on some amazing rides this trip, some big bucket lists for Charlotte. Which rides have you enjoyed the most?
Oh, well, I've got my new number one was Maverick. I absolutely loved Maverick. It was just brilliant. It was great to get on Steel Vengeance. I really enjoyed Aeroforce One. That was brilliant. There's just so many coasters. Dark Coaster.
Yes, that was great.
Williamsburg. That was brilliant. There was just so many coasters that I enjoyed this trip.
Yeah, and that's the great thing. Sometimes it's a bit overwhelming, isn't it? When every day you go into these new parks, but really when you come back here and sit in the studio and reflect on all these parks, you think there's some fantastic rides. And even at parks like right back to day one, Dorney Park, you know, that took us by surprise because I'd never been there before. But we had a great day. You know, it just goes to show that park doesn't get spoke about that much because it hasn't got a big RMC or a big new generation Intamin coaster, but it's just got some great rides and we really enjoyed it. Some great history. And when it comes to rides, let's just talk about new additions for a minute, because of course we were really lucky this trip to get some big new additions. Probably the biggest one was Wildcats Revenge. We really enjoyed that at Hershey Park, didn't we?
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. Like, the airtime on there was just brilliant, and I'm so glad that we managed to get on it.
Yeah, and we timed the trip perfectly because it was opening day, literally opening day. You know, we didn't change our days or anything. It literally fell on opening day. If it was there the day before, we wouldn't have got it. It would have been there the next day. Obviously, it would have been the second day. But we were there first day of operation for the new RMC, and it was incredible. One of the best. Another ride that we really both mutually enjoyed this trip was, of course, at Dollywood, and that's Big Bear Mountain. That was amazing, wasn't it?
I absolutely loved that. I was coming to the station with a big smile on my face every time. It was just so much fun.
The perfect family coaster with the 3 launches on there, the overall theme, the onboard soundtrack. That was at Dollywood, and we really enjoyed that. Fantastic. Of course, Aeroforce One, the new RMC. When we arrived at Fun Spot America Atlanta, we got to the park and thought, you know, there's not really that much here. And then, of course, you got this big RMC towering over it. One of the best, the most airtime I've ever had on a coaster. It was insane, that, wasn't it?
My bruises are still going down from it because the airtime was that much.
Crazy. And then, of course, at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, we got on Dark Coaster.
I love
the Intamin Straddle. I mean, that was fantastic, that was, wasn't it?
We absolutely love that. What a fantastic coaster that was.
Yeah, it was the launches, the overall props and set design in there. I just thought it was fantastic. Like special effects, audio, the fact it was so cold in the building, that just really added to it. Of course, we did miss out on Zambezi Zinga. We all know the story about that one, but you never know, we may get to ride it in the future.
Yeah, who knows? We're not in any rush to go back.
No, I wouldn't rush back to Worlds of Fun. If we do a similar trip to like this in the future, I probably would skip Worlds of Fun unless they had something else massive to draw us there, of course. It all depends on if they've got more investments planned. But yeah, as it stands at the moment, I certainly wouldn't rush back there based on the day that we had. But yeah, we got lots of great new additions, which was fantastic. And just getting to all them parks and the reactions of it all, it really was an incredible adventure. And of course, over on the Sandbrook Adventures, we went to a lot of other fascinating places in between as well. The one that comes straight into my mind is a place called Jungle Jim's Supermarket.
That was absolutely amazing. Like, we was just like amazed the whole way around of like how much of a big scale that was.
Yeah, it was massive. It had like animatronics in and everything.
So good.
Of course, we went to Buc-ee's, which is a big service station chain. So we covered all that on the Sandbrook Adventures. And yeah, just in general, you can see like all these behind the scenes kind of aspects to the trip just over on that channel as well. So we'd love to see you all over there. We're actually close to 100,000 subscribers on the Sandbrook Adventures. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it. We'd love to see you all over on that channel. And of course, thank you for joining us here on Theme Park Worldwide throughout what has been our biggest trip ever. 25 parks in one trip. Who knows if we'll ever do that amount in one trip again. I mean, you know, it's been amazing. And of course, we've got lots of exciting trip plans coming up for the future. And in fact, in just a few days' time, we're going to be sat back here on the sofa talking about our next set of trips, which is coming up. We've got some exciting things on the way in just a few days' time, actually. And then, of course, another big trip coming up in September this year as well, which we're looking forward to. And onwards from there, we've got exciting plans as we move into winter of 2023 and into early 2024, because yeah, we've got some really exciting stuff coming up. And of course, it's a really exciting time for the UK theme park industry at the moment as well, with the Nemesis rebuild at Alton Towers. That was the first video put on for you all yesterday, of course, when we got back. And yeah, along with that as well. Exodus down at Thorpe Park, Drayton Manor's new roller coaster, and lots of other exciting investments too. So stick with us here at Theme Park Worldwide for all of the latest. But there you go, that's our biggest ever trip, the USA Road Trip 2023. If you've got any questions, of course, we'll always try our best to answer down below in the video comments. But I think we've pretty much covered everything, haven't we, really, about the trip there?
So. I think we've gone into detail about pretty much everything.
Yeah, we've had a fantastic time. We've loved taking you along. And yeah, just visiting all them parks day after day in one trip really is amazing. We're so lucky to be able to do that. When I first started visiting theme parks, when my parents took me to Alton Towers, I never thought I'd be lucky enough to one day travel the world with my beautiful fiance and just go and visit 25 parks in a row in America. We are so lucky. I'll never take it for granted what we do, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. So honestly, thank you so much. But there we go, that's the road trip. Also, I hope you like our new setup here in the studio. The good thing is we've got a big sofa here, and we've got loads of other little filming spots in here too. And of course, future episodes will be on the way of creating the British Theme Park Museum. There's a couple of episodes left in that series, just putting some finishing touches to it in here, really.
Yeah, it's just adding a few extra bits in here.
Yeah, definitely. Some more lighting and that sort of thing. So let us know your thoughts on the studio as well. I just think it's a really nice space, having the sofa, lots of room in here to do more stuff.
Roomy.
It is, it's very nice in here, and it kind of a bit of a nod to the old school Theme Park Worldwide of when I first started doing the news updates, when I had all my mugs behind me. Well, as you can see, I've got my selection of theme park resins behind, and I've got all the mugs around. So yeah, lots of different backdrops, which is really exciting. But stay tuned for the video in the next couple of days talking about our next trips, and we're really excited to bring you lots more content, also here from the UK theme park season throughout summer 2023 as well. But there we go, that leaves us with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. We'll see you in tomorrow's video.